Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the most historic podcast in all of civilization, the best podcast in the history of mankind. And the only reason it is because yours truly, inside the mind of Miles, Timothy Miles, has Brian Dutcher, the king of San Diego, where whales are jumping out of the water right now saying, "Go Aztecs." Brian Dutcher, head basketball coach. How the heck are you?
I'm doing good. And first of all, the king of San Diego is still Steve Fisher, so don't even try that with me. So I'm the prince. I'm taking over, but he's still the king.
You are the prince. That is well said, my man. We all love Steve Fisher. I think the last time I called him, he was at maybe a place where he's playing some cards.
Oh, he loves poker. He's good at it.
Yeah.
That's the old math teacher in him. High school math teacher, numbers, percentages. He was always good at it.
Yeah, well, and he can play it close to his vest. He's no dummy that way. Fish has been, Brian, and we're just gonna. Fish was so good to me. He and Lonnie Kruger really looked out for me, and you were part of that group when I started in the Mountain West of Colorado State. And I just can't tell you how much I appreciate it, especially at the conclusion of my first year, where we set a conference record to go 0-16, and Steve Fisher was one of the first guys to call me. You remember that call?
I don't remember it, but it doesn't surprise me he would. I mean, we hear about all the bad people in this business, but we don't talk enough about the good people. And Lon Kruger and Steve Fisher were two of the really good people.
So we go 0-16. It's just crazy, the scenarios that shook out. And Fish calls it and says, "Timmy, you're going to get it." We'd had actually a heck of an overtime game, or maybe even double overtime. I think we made about 18 threes and got beat and against the Aztecs. And Fish calls me. And just to make me feel better, right at the end, he says, "Well, you know whose record you broke, right? Ours. We were 0-14 my first year in the league." And
we could not win a game. We could not win a game our first year.
Yeah, so that really gave me honest inspiration and hope that, here I idolize, what you guys had been with the Fab Five at Michigan and what you'd done turning it at San Diego State. So it really meant a lot to me. But Dutch, you grew up son of a coach. Your dad, Jim Dutcher, longtime coach. Tell us about growing up in the family and a coaching family.
You always want to do it if your dad does. If you're that kind of son, you follow your dad's footsteps. And he came up, he coached at Alpena Community College in Alpena, Michigan. Went from there to Eastern Michigan, head coach at Eastern Michigan, where he coached George the Iceman Gervin. And he went over there as I know. Coaching's always about talent. Some things have never changed. And so he moved on from there to the University of Michigan. He was an assistant with Johnny Orr. Then, of course, he went on to the University of Minnesota and took over for Bill Musselman, got left a very good team, and then had a nice run at the University of Minnesota. And I was in Minnesota 9th grade through college. I had a chance to work with him as a student manager my 4 years in college, and what a great way to start coaching.
Yeah, that's pretty cool stuff. I gave Musselman a hard time. How come all the sons of the Minnesota coaches end up in San Diego?
Because they're smart. Because they lived in Minnesota and they dealt with those winters.
Oh, so boy, it's tough.
To get in the sun.
What did Lou Holtz say? "I know people are from Minnesota because they have blonde hair and blue ears."
That's it.
Yeah.
That's so funny.
Yeah, that's good stuff. So your first gig, was it after that? Was South Dakota State your first job?
My first job, I considered a job, was I was a grad assistant at the University of Illinois for Lou Henson.
Okay.
And, Lou used to come to speak at the Jim Dutcher basketball camp, and my dad would go to Illinois, and I used to pick Lou up from the airport. And I was always grateful for Lou because most coaches are so suspicious, and for him to hire me into the Big Ten while my dad was still in Minnesota meant a lot to me. And Lou Henson, few people know this, but he's got his name on two courts at New Mexico State, Lou Henson Court, and University of Illinois.
That's
Lou
true.
Henson Court. And so that's unbelievable. And what an incredible coach and first mentor to me to get my start in coaching. Besides my dad was Lou Henson.
Well, and then from there you ended up at South Dakota State. Is that true?
3 years with the Jackrabbits. And like I said, I'm the only coach probably to work at both SDSU, South Dakota State and San Diego State.
Boy, you caused me a lot of hardship because I wanted to be, when we went Division I on the ticker, I wanted NDSU to be not no DAC State. I wanted it to be either ND State or NDSU. They wouldn't let us do it because SDSU couldn't be SDSU, because you guys were already SDSU. So I said, how about SD State? And they're like, no, that's still too, it's got to be SODAC State. And that just drove me bananas. And I don't even know what it is anymore.
You need to quit worrying about renaming the school and coaching the team.
Hey,
you're a forward thinker. That's you. You've always been a forward thinker.
Dutch, I was Division I independent coach. You know what I mean? So I was worried about a lot of stuff back then. I was worried about a lot. And I was just trying to get the point that all great things run through South Dakota. You met your wife. Now, did your wife paint that painting behind you? Your wife's a heck of an artist.
Yeah, it's a Warhol knockoff of Grace Kelly. So
it's pretty impressive.
Yep. So I met her in college, University of Minnesota, and we've been married coming up 36 years, and she likes me a lot better now that I moved her to San Diego than when I moved her to Brookings, South Dakota.
I'll bet. My wife and I were in San Diego, and there was a time. That's my dog. We gotta just forgive Sammy. Sammy, you're okay. And we saw like an interior decorating magazine that featured your wife.
Yes, when we originally did our house, she's always had an artistic eye, and she's done a lot with the houses over the years, and does jewelry, does paintings, and so she's very creative. I wish I was as creative as she was. And
she obviously buys your glasses and dresses you because, let's face it.
These are like dime store readers, and so it's whatever dime store we have to go to. So I've gotten to that point. I can't read anything without these glasses on. So I don't wear them during the games, but to read the stats, I got to put them on.
Do you lose them often?
Oh, all the time. Oh, yeah. But I have a couple favorite pairs, so I hate when I lose a nice pair.
I hear you.
All I can get is what they're selling at the store, at Costco or at CVS. Once in a while I'll get a good pair, but I lose them all the time.
So I have glasses on, and so to read I have to take my glasses off, even though I have bifocals. Okay, 54 is my age, right? So then because they're rimless, I can't find them. I put them there, and I'm like, no, that's my glasses. I need to get this done. We need to find these glasses. So we all have. You're like the third coach I've had the same. Porter Moser we talked about, and Clay Mosier also. And look at this dog. Look at this dog.
I think the dog's eating them, so you better watch that dog.
Yeah, no doubt. She's fine. She's a truck. But we've had this discussion about glasses, and it always goes in the same direction. We all lose them. How did you connect with Steve Fisher? Where in the world, because you're a native Michigan guy, or how did that happen where you ended up at Michigan with Coach Fish?
That's an interesting story because when my dad was the head coach at Alpena Community College, Bill Frieder was the coach at Alpena High School. Oh. And so when my dad went to Michigan as an assistant, Bill Frieder was the head coach at Flint Northwestern, winning state championships.
Had some players?
So Frieder came out as an assistant with my dad under Johnny Orr. So I knew Bill, my dad knew Bill. So I actually got hired by Bill in 1989, the year we won the national championship. The year that he left at the end of the year, they wouldn't let him coach a team.
Yeah,
and Steve took over, right? Yeah, he coached those 6 games. We won the national championship in '89. So Bill Frieder hired me there, and then I was with Steve ever since.
That's awesome. What a run. That's a nice way to start your career as you move up the ladder. And Steve goes 6-0 in the NCAA tournament. That's a nice little run there.
Yeah, it was interesting because when I was just a young assistant, and you go in the locker room for the first time and you're young, the players will walk over you. I mean, these are like 6 or 7 NBA guys on that roster. Loy Vaught, Terry Mills, Ramil Robinson, Glenn Rice. But one time I went in there, I was in charge of getting them out of that. One time I went in there and they were talking over me. And Glenn Rice basically said, hey, shut up. Coach is talking. So once Glenn had my back, then I was good. So I always say I'm always grateful for Glenn Rice for giving me some credibility to start my career at Michigan.
And people don't see that. They see Glenn Rice as a great player, and Glenn Rice's son is a great player, but they don't see that respect and how those guys have such an impact and an impact on your life, really, because you're exactly right. That can go in a lot of bad directions, but he steps up for you and it goes in the perfect direction. You guys recruit the Fab Five, right? I mean, what a fascinating 2 national championship games. You come so close. As an assistant coach, when I was a NAI assistant, we lost consecutive national championship games too. And in fact, I got a letter from, I forget who it was at Michigan, and it said, whatever it was, finalist. And I used that in all of my stationery at Northern State. We were the, finalist, 1994 finalist, 1993 finalist. I thought that was a great way to say we didn't win the national championship. What were the experiences with the Fab Five like? And, of course, getting that close to a national championship?
It's kind of funny because just to tie it all together, I kind of brought the long shorts to Michigan because Jordan was wearing them, and I knew they were kind of good for recruiting. And so I put extra length on all the shorts at Michigan, and so we wore the really long shorts. And then I saw my team in the locker room the other day when we opened up the season. I said, it breaks my heart that I'm the guy that brought long shorts to college basketball, and I come in here, and you're wearing the shorts from 1989. Yeah. I said, it breaks my heart. Yeah, so they all got a good laugh out of that. But you stick in it long enough, you see every trend come back around.
See Ramil Robinson, and he had the tight ones and the high socks and the whole thing, and these guys wear them. You get close on the championship games, Coach. You just don't get over the top. How long does that stay with you? Did it stay with you? Talk to me about that.
Because we won the title in '89, we kind of had that. Coach and I had that experience, and you always want it for your other teams. And so to take those 5 freshmen to the championship game and lose to a very good Duke team, it was a close game. And I remember as an assistant, I told Coach, we're not going to win the game unless we try to press them. Well, of course, we got blown out. So it was like some of the worst advice I could have ever given him. We got to try to press early. Oh, he went through it. Oh, he's so quick. And so that it stung, but we were freshmen. They came back the second year. These guys came back a second year. And we lost to a very good North Carolina team, obviously the Weber timeout. And I just felt so bad for Chris because without him, we'd have never been there.
Sure.
And so I just felt so bad for him. We might not have won the game anyway, but to lose it in that fashion was hard on everybody and hardest on Chris. And I just felt great empathy for them. And I thought he did a great job handling that adversity. I mean, it tore him apart. And then people forget the year after that, after Weber left, we still had 4 of the Fab Five back, and we lost in the Elite Eight to Arkansas in a very close game, and then they went on to win the national championship. So that was an incredible run at Michigan with some really good kids, some very talented players. But, talent alone doesn't win. You have to have something in you. And those guys had something in them. They were warriors, and they competed at such a high level to never really be rewarded. But that's basketball. There's only one team rewarded at the end, and the rest of us come close.
Yeah, I was just listening to an interesting podcast, and it was on officiating of all things, and it was on Tim Donaghy, whistleblower, and they talked about one of these NBA series. I forget which year it was, 2000, 2001, but it was the year that the Lakers forced a Game 6, and Scott Pollard's on there. And he's talking about Chris's leadership. And I remember how good he was with the Kings and you forget, for me, it's been 19 years now, how great a pro he was too. And so it's got to be rewarding for you to see Jalen on ESPN all the time. And some of those guys have such good pro careers, whether, from those days, because, as you get an intimate relationship as the, an assistant coach where your main job is recruiting, and really to get to know these guys and then, know what their goals are, then see how they go on and accomplish those.
Yeah, they all had great pro careers, but it's what they did after that with Jalen's gig on ESPN, Weber on TNT and all the NBA games, Jawan coaching at Michigan now, the head coach of the University of Michigan, Ray and Jimmy have both done well. And so at some level, it's about basketball, but the bigger picture is about life, and those guys have all succeeded in life.
So you go to San Diego State, you and Fish are there. You have a couple, tough years early, then you get it going well. Tell me, how many NCAA tournaments have you guys been to in the last, since you were there?
I think it's like 9 of the last 11 years we've been.
Yeah.
And I'm not sure what it is. Maybe we have 12 or 13 conference titles in our 22 years.
Yeah.
So it's been an incredible run. But, we've had the benefit of things that other coaches didn't have here. They had just opened Viejas Arena, which is an incredible facility.
Ladies
they
and
talk
gentlemen,
about
I'm gonna interject. I am interjecting. I'm gonna tell you, if you get I don't think a lot of people see San Diego, as this, youthful place where college basketball is absolutely blistering hot. But San Diego it is. They call it the show. And I tell you what, you better go with it strapped on because it's something else in there. It's hard for opponents. It's a really cool place. And you even get a little bit of that, Laker front row stuff. You look across and there's Bill Walton, and you look across there's Steve Strasburg or Tony Gwynn or somebody, but what a great fan base. They come out, they sell that place out, and that's just amazing. So you're exactly right. I mean, the show Viejas is an unbelievable place to watch a game.
Yeah, we sell out. I mean, it's not like UCLA and USC. They have great programs, but they got to compete against the Clippers and the Lakers. They got to compete against the Ducks and Kings in hockey. They got the Dodgers and Angels. They got the Galaxy and LAFC in soccer. You come to San Diego, it's the Padres and San Diego State basketball. We're the two professional teams in town. So if you're the 9th largest city in the country, and you're basically the pro team of this city. So we get incredible support. The corporate dollar comes, they buy the courtside seats, and we have tremendous support. And that's gone a long way to making us what we are here.
So you get Kawhi Leonard before he's really known to mankind, didn't you? You guys got him committed before he becomes the player of the year in California basketball. You really had your in on him. Obviously, you've recruited so many high-level players. When you first saw Kawhi, who did you identify with? Was it Chris Webber? Was it who did you see in Kawhi that you knew you were getting a great college player and a future pro?
I went and watched him in a workout in the spring after his junior year. And there was another Pac-12 coach there, and we watched the exact same workout. And I walked out of the gym, and I called up back to the office. I said, I think this guy's going to play in the NBA. Now, I had no in the wildest dreams thought he'd be what he was. And the Pac-12 coach basically said, well, you're not skilled enough to be a 3 and not big enough to be a 4-man. And that's just basketball. Hey, we've all done that. We've all missed on kids and hit kids. Yep. So I don't have a crystal ball on that. But I thought he was going to be sensational. And I know Coach Fisher recruited him. He went in the home visit and basically said, we're not getting this kid. He doesn't say anything. And Justin Hudson did a great job recruiting him. He said, Coach, that's just who he is. We got to hang in there. Keep recruiting him. And he's one of those kids, Tim, when you're where we were back then, you're hoping he doesn't play well in the sun because you already know how good he is. And you're hoping he doesn't have that breakout game in front of UCLA or USC.
Yeah.
And by the time he started having those games, we had already signed him in the early period. And he just started dominating California basketball. And we were very fortunate to get him in. And I always give the Spurs a hard time because they said, well, he was a 5-man in college. I mean, haven't played against him. He played point guard. He played 2 guard. He played small forward. He played every position on the floor. And we couldn't get him the ball enough. And he was a tremendous competitor and maybe the hardest worker I've ever worked with.
Well, that's the one thing I recall is you talking about his work ethic. And I just want to allude to 2 things quickly. One, you alluded to Justin Hudson. Justin's the head coach at Fresno State. We're fortunate enough, a couple guys from my staff at Colorado State, Nico Medved, now the head coach at Colorado State.
Yep.
Craig Smith is now at Utah State. When I was the coach and Craig and I brought this up in our last podcast, our children used to, be allowed on the court. And they would dance through the San Diego State stretching line, and they'd say, "Hey, Diego, where's Dora?" Because they're 5 years old watching Dora the Explorer, right? And then Kawhi went out and just killed us. And but when you look at those guys, I mean, and the impact, like my assistants are now having on the Mountain West. Justin's doing a much better job. What you've continued to do, and now Steve Alford's back in the Mountain West Conference at Nevada, and DeMarlo Slocum is the associate head coach to TJ at UNLV. You look at the impact in just that little small circle of guys we know so well, and I really think that the Mountain West is going to be multiple bids. When we were there, lucky enough, we were getting 3, 4, and 5 bids in a year when the Pac-12 was getting 1 and 2.
Yeah, one year I think we had 9 teams in the league. We had 5 bids.
Yeah.
So this is a tough league. I mean, everybody's league is tough. I understand that, but when you add the altitude factor, people don't understand what altitude can do to you. And having been in this league for 22 years, I know what it is. And we got good when we got rid of travel partners. When we used to have to come to your place, play at Colorado State, and then drive up to Laramie and spend 5 days at altitude, you're not falling over from altitude. But a half step in basketball is everything.
Yep.
And I just felt that second game of that 4 or 5 day swing was brutal on us coming from sea level and playing either at 7,000 feet in Laramie, 7,000 feet in Albuquerque, Air Force Academy. It's a brutal altitude league. And so when we got rid of travel partners and we only had to go to one game and then come home, I felt we had a better chance to win.
Yeah, that's certainly always you can see it. I used to always watch San Diego State play Wyoming because I wanted to see if that game was before ours or whoever, how your guys, like, is there a certain guy that's not handling it well or whatever it might be? Altitude can be a huge factor. The South Beach Grill is my favorite restaurant in San Diego. That little place right down from University of San Diego, right on the beach. They've got these fish tacos. Unbelievable. Do you ever get there, Dutch?
I have not got there. And there are so many great places to eat here in San Diego. Maybe it's too close to the Toreros. Maybe that's why I don't go there. But,
well, I always made a trip. You know, Jay Larson, who was one of your compliance guys, was a young guy that I competed against when he was a Division II player. I was a Division II coach, and his little brother played for me, Rory, at Southwest Minnesota State. I think he introduced me to it, so I'll blame him. But it was terrific. San Diego is such a great town. It's nothing like losing to the Aztecs and going to have some fish tacos, walking on the beach, heading home, and getting up at 5 a.m. for a flight home and going from there. But as you go now, last year you go, what, 28-0 at one point? What was it?
I think 26-0.
26-0. UNLV gets you. And then the last game you lost, of course, was Sam Merrill just losing his mind, making unbelievable plays. You actually even fouled him on the very last shot, according to Craig Smith, and it still didn't stop him. But, you know, you won the regular season Mountain West. You've won the Mountain West tournament before. You were probably going as a likely 2 seed into the NCAA tournament, which, I mean, you go to the Final Four as a 2 seed. You know, a 9 seed, a little tougher. We start talking about a 2 seed, holy cow, that's a whole different set of circumstances. Talk to me about –
we were adding Nathan Mensah back, our starting center for the first 13 games. I mean, people don't understand how big and strong we were. I mean, we weren't a typical mid-major. We had great size and strength to the point where we played Iowa and Garza had 9 points against us. When does he have 9 points?
That was the last time he had 9.
Yeah, between Wetzel and Nathan Mensah. So Nathan played 13 games and sat from there with a respiratory issue. And so we were getting him back for the NCAA tournament. So we were going to truly be at full strength. So what that means, who knows? You know, you can shake up that tournament every year and not know what it's going to be. But we were going to be healthy, and I thought we had a chance to maybe make a run.
Yeah, I don't think there's – Malachi Flynn was your lead guard. You lose him. Now you come in this year, you still got a versatile, bigger group of juniors and seniors. You still got good size. You know, how do you replace Malachi Flynn? What's this team got to do? Do you have to make any adjustments to your scheme? What do you think?
The thing with this team, and it's really interesting, is we're truly play guys, and that might be our strength. Most coaches, you know, they'll play 10 guys out because they got to keep guys happy so they don't transfer and this and that. We're 10 deep, and our second team can beat our first team. And so we're going to find out as we go on, but our strength might be that we can play 10 deep and keep the heat on people for 40. You know, right now I don't see us shortening the bench very much, and we're going to be dangerous because of our depth.
Well, there's no doubt when people say heat you up, he's not talking about full court blowout pressure like, you know, the old Arkansas teams we alluded to earlier. But when you go against San Diego State, you deal with tremendous ball pressure, and then it is a fist fight in the paint to try and keep these guys off the glass, to try and get an offensive rebound, to try and finish over the length. San Diego State really makes it difficult for you, and you've got some really good length. Who else do you like in the Mountain West outside of yourselves? Tell me some key players, some key teams that you see in the league that not everybody in the Midwest and the East knows. And this is the greatest podcast in the history of mankind. Everybody in the world watches it. So why don't you educate us on the Mountain West?
I mean, they picked the league basically. Boise was picked second. Leon's got a lot of transfers. We all know Leon's a very good coach.
Yeah.
He's got some length and athleticism about him with Alston back, even though Alston didn't score in their opener or didn't have a particularly great game against Houston. But then you look what Houston did to Texas Tech today.
Boy,
you know what that is.
Don't make a basket the last 12 minutes of the game and still win by 13.
That's unbelievable. So I think Leon's got a good group. They weren't at full strength that game because of COVID. Craig's done a great job at Utah State. He's got enough returners. Obviously, losing Merrill's a lot like losing Flynn. We're going to see what that is.
He's got to just figure out his rotations. I watched him in Sioux Falls, and he's just got to figure out his rotations. They were good the third day when they beat Northern Iowa, but they were not good before that. Yeah,
but then you look in – they lost the first game to VCU, and VCU then punished. Didn't they beat Villanova today?
I don't know if they did today. I didn't watch. I didn't see any scores except watch the Houston.
They might have. So
wow,
they were up that whole game, Utah State. And so sometimes you don't know. I think Nico's got a sneaky good team. He was good last year. He's got an incredible point guard, and he's got depth. Roddy's very good. He's a versatile player. You know, he can play 2, 3, 4, and they're good. And then TJ at Vegas, I think, will be good. And I'm sure I'm underselling some of the other teams. It's a hard league.
We already talked about Fresno earlier, and then Joe Scott back in the league. Just that system alone of matchup zone defense and guarding Princeton the way you have to guard that Princeton stuff is aggravating enough, to be honest. I think the Mountain West is going to be really good. You started out playing a Pac-12 team. How great was it for two things? One, congratulations on an excellent victory over UCLA, who's nationally ranked. Great way to start the season. But I was really happy to see Mick Cronin bring his Bruins down to San Diego. I thought that was pretty cool stuff.
Yeah, I tried to get him a home and home. He said, "Are you insane? I'm not playing you home and home." But then as it went on, COVID-wise, you know, we're getting strange games because of COVID. And we both had the series canceled in Orlando. We were in separate events. You know, we had been talking. I said, "Just come down here." And he said, "I want to play good games with this team. I want to play good games early." And so I thank Mick to no end for coming down to Viejas Arena and playing us at our place.
Too bad it wasn't with fans.
Yeah, no fans in the building. But our game management people did a great job. Piped in noise, cardboard cutouts. You know, it had a game feel to it. And obviously then he played Pepperdine, who's very good. Romar's a good coach.
Yep.
They went triple overtime. And then our second game we played UC Irvine. Russ does a great job there.
Yep.
They picked to win the Big West. And so we go UCLA Irvine and come out with 2 victories and a nice way to start our year.
What do you think the challenges is as a head coach with COVID? What has been your biggest challenge so far?
We've been pretty blessed. We got shut down right when school started. They shut the whole athletic department down, every sport, for 2 weeks. And since then, we've been going every day. We're having morning workouts where we can get our individual work done. Then we're having full team practice. And so we're in a bit of rhythm. So, you know, you never know what's going to bite you. You know, hopefully it doesn't bite us all year, but you never know. And so we're just grateful to be on the court every day. And so we were supposed to be at Colorado State this week, and they tested positive. We were supposed to open the conference season the 3rd and 5th. So now we're already looking for games. We'll probably play a non-D1 and then maybe bring another D1 team into us on Sunday. And then we go to Arizona State, who obviously is very talented.
Oh, yeah. That'll be a great game.
Yeah, so and on top of that, then we got St. Mary's in a neutral and BYU. So I think we built a schedule where if we do anything, we'll have a chance to build a resume. But we're also not naive enough to think the games aren't going to get canceled. And the nice thing about being in California, we have a lot of teams, you know, between LA and us that we can get a game maybe. We can get a USC or a Fullerton or someone that gets a game canceled, USD, SDS, or UCSD in town. So we always have it in our hip pocket that we may have to pick up another game from someone else. And we're trying to be conscious of that and looking what's happened around the state of California.
Tell me, two things you've learned from Steve Fisher. You know, you're the head coach in waiting, and a lot of those things have not worked out, honestly. Worked out great for you guys. You didn't really miss a beat. Boom, 20 wins every year. And of course, what we talked about with last season, and here you go again this season. Just tell me a couple things, how Coach Fish has mentored you and what he's meant to your career and your family and everything from there.
I'd say Coach Fisher's greatest quality, and it took me a while to learn it, is in a world of talkers, he's a great listener. And you and I struggle with that, my friend. We like to talk. We like to talk. And so he was always a great listener. So I've tried to be a better listener. You know, I used to get on a recruiting call and want to dominate the conversation, where he'd get on with the same person, say hello, and let them talk for 15 minutes. And it's just such an art to it. And so I'm trying to be a better listener. Listen to my staff, listen to my team, tell them I don't know all the answers. Tell me what's happening out there. Tell me what we need to do. And so I'm trying to be a better listener. And then obviously as an assistant coach, you want everything to go perfect. You want everything just to be perfect. You're supposed to be here. You're supposed to be here. Pass the ball here. You want to PlayStation your team. And coach never PlayStation the team. You know, we're very structured defensively and very demanding. But offensively, I basically let any kid take any shot he wants. You know, I don't try to micromanage, because sometimes you worry, well, this guy shouldn't be shooting threes. I just believe in his own mind that kid knows I'm not a good three-point shooter. He may take one, and he won't keep taking them.
Yeah.
If he does, maybe I'll catch him in film. But most guys know their game. And so I don't try to tie them up. They already know what they are offensively. So I try to let them play free offensively and just share the ball.
Well, that trust goes a long way. There's no question. That's why you guys have been ultra successful. Brian Dutcher, thank you for being on our podcast. I'm a huge fan, of course, as you well know, of the San Diego State Aztecs and Brian Dutcher and Steve Fisher and everybody. My best to Mark Fisher, by the way, and I hope he's doing all right. You guys are a first-class program. I can't wait to see how this year develops. And maybe if I get bored enough, I'll just make myself fly out there and force my way into your gym and watch you practice a little bit. But
come out to the sun, my friend. Spend some time with us.
Might not leave. Congratulations on a good start. Good luck on a great finish, and hoping everything's great for the Aztecs. Thanks for coming on Inside the Mind of Miles.
Thanks, Tim.
Hey, everybody. It's me, your gracious host, Tim Miles, with my guy, Gregory Eaton. Esauce, how you doing today, brother? I see you are in captivity.
Yeah.
Where are you?
I am in the basement. I get sent down. Get sent down low.
Kind of to AAA. What hat are we wearing then, since we're living the dream in the basement?
It's another different Pawtucket hat right there. So gotta give some love. So. And
you and your wife are big Disney fans. Give me the T-shirt on there's Mickey at Christmas.
Mickey at Christmas.
You've been through their exec program, right? What have you been through with those guys?
Yeah. So my wife and I, we were season ticket holders, pass holders for a full year. We went 8 times in 18 months, and went through the executive program there at their Disney Institute. But my wife got me this shirt when we actually played down there at the Advocare.
Oh yeah. That was a fun event. A fun event. Taco Fall got us on that one. Blocked like 9 shots, and our bigs went like 2 for 18. Roby got hurt. So we ended up losing Central Florida and then beat Marist and Long Beach. But we didn't get any of the big boys, so that hurt our schedule a little bit.
It did.
Never forget that. I'm wearing Triple B today, the Chimney Rock of Nebraska.
I like that there. One.
Can you find out where I spilled some red wine on there? Nope. That's why. Thanks, Josh. So, no, we've been you and your wife are truly 2 of the neatest people I've had a chance to be around. And you're sincere. Like, what part of Disney do you feel like that you haven't been to? Like, what part do you feel like you're, not where what Epcot, what are we missing?
So honestly, and it's funny because my wife and I just had this conversation, is that she really wanted to go this Christmas to do Epcot at Christmas, because you can go around the world. They have pop-up kitchens where they have, Christmas and holiday foods from all around the world.
Yeah.
And when you coach, you can't
do that.
Right.
Yeah.
So that's the one thing that she said, I love that when at the Advocare, she spent every day, I'm in my
Yeah,
room,
you're busy.
working on film till 3:00, and she's at the parks till midnight. I mean, it seems like a pretty fair trade-off.
Fair. This is pre-kids, though. Pre-kids, right?
Yes.
Yeah. Kids change everything. Your little daughter Lily was just going down for a nap. She's adorable. How old is she?
A year and a half, just
Year
about.
and a half. Yeah, they get better. Then they get worse. I got a teenager.
I won't tell Ava.
Yeah. Well, it's Gabe.
Okay, it's Gabe.
Yeah. So what did you think, Brian Dutcher? So, first of all, what a great guy. And I mean, how about his wife painting that that pop kind of Andy Warhol-ish Grace Kelly painting? She painted that. Like, she's really talented, man.
She is, and it's funny how he's raving about her, but then he had to say that he was a fashion setter with the long shorts at Michigan.
Like,
he had to pull that piece.
He had to pull that out.
Yeah,
he was adding inches, is what he said to the inseam. He snuck that one in on the head coach. I promise you that. Fish is like, what are we doing? But that's those two are really, really cool guys. He must have a squad, man, because I know UCLA was down. They're forward. But boy, they look just, it's like shampoo, man, for San Diego State. It's like rinse, repeat, do it again. Apply, rinse, repeat. They're good.
They're phenomenal. And it's just how long Dutch was with Coach Fisher. I mean, that whole staff has been together for how many years?
Yeah.
They promote from within, and I mean, they just do such a great job together. And
they do. No, those are important things. What did you think about the week of college athletics? Were you surprised Richmond just beat the heck out of Kentucky? I mean, Evansville last year, we've all heard the same stuff.
To be honest, I'm not. I think Coach Mooney has been under some fire the last couple years.
Well, yeah.
He's a phenomenal coach.
A group of boosters bought a Fire Mooney billboard on the street that he has to drive by to work. It's just a totally classy, class and dignity. That's what we're about here in Richmond, Virginia, apparently. Jeez. I mean, come on.
And like last year, they would have made the tournament. I mean, what is amazing about the whole A-10 is just that I think everybody talks about non-football conferences, and they always talk about the Big East. And not many people talk about the A-10. And Dayton was so good last year in the shadow was St. Louis and Richmond. And they were both in the tournament last year. Yeah. And nobody's talking about them. So while everybody says, well, it's the biggest upset so far this season, it's so they expect it. I can guarantee you Coach Mooney went in there saying, we're going to win this game, guys.
I didn't check the spread, but I'll bet it wasn't a whole bunch. I bet it was not more than 3 or 4 points. And that's, if it's 3 points, that's one possession, folks. And, when you look at like the Ken Pom rankings and some of those things, what you realize is that the difference between being the 35th best team and the 80th best team is often 2 or 3 points. It's not a lot usually in terms of, where you're at. And so you can see why that's really what's exciting is that anything can happen, on any given night. I really was impressed with Houston. They just, don't score a basket for the last 12 minutes and win by 11 or 13 or whatever it was. Like, what in the hell are we doing? And that was the least social distance of any they wore suits. Everybody was piled right next to each other. Masks were kind of semi-mandatory. And I hope everybody stays healthy. So I went to the crossover classic, Bad Boys crossover classic, which West Virginia won over Western Kentucky, who was really impressive. I was really impressed with Charles Bassett's a pro, dude. He's really good. Run, gets to the ball, blocks shots, rebounds well, quickly. And I was just so impressed with him. But they did a very good job of running the event, testing daily, everything, just like what, this quote unquote bubble idea. And again, they did an outstanding job. And, when you looked at all that, one thing I found, I've seen some different things, and I tweeted about it in a retweet. I quoted a retweet by Dan Walken, which was, why are they even wearing masks. Well, I mean, still some mask wearing at least is better than none. But I'm talking to a guy, he's about 6 feet away, and he's a good friend of mine, Brent Decker, the Brandon Valley head coach, and he's got lung cancer, right? So we're wearing our masks, but because of the crowd noise, they're piping in crowd noise, he literally can't hear what I'm saying. And he's 6 feet away. So if you're going to get a point across to a player 25 feet away, you're going to pull down your mask. You're just going to pull down your mask. And so I hope people understand that the gym is not as quiet as your living room. Okay? I mean, it's while you look at it like, well, what are they doing? The gym is not as quiet as your living room. Bottom line is that these things are there's squeaking of shoes. There's other people talking. There's guys cheering, like cheering somebody on. There's another coach maybe yelling direction as other player. So I think we got to cut them some slack on that. But, it's good to see. Did you see the Kentucky thing? And I don't know if they did in the game against Richmond, though. If you're shooting 2 free throws, they took their middle guy and moved them back like 12 feet because they found through contact tracing and some of the equipment that they're wearing that was a dangerous place to be on the free throw line. So on the free throw that really doesn't matter, they moved back about 15 feet, and then when it was there, so it reduced their time in half of being next to each other on the foul line. I'll tweet that when we introduce our podcast here, but it's interesting stuff.
I did not see that. That is really interesting, and it's such a at Nebraska they have the performance lab and everything, and we were able to work with those people, and it's so fascinating just how it's evolved in the last 5 years, and just findings like that is a perfect example of what they're bringing to the table that people aren't seeing.
It used to be like just heart rate and how far you ran during practice, and they've got it now on exertion rates, and we were testing saliva tests with cortisol and testosterone. So I remember the one test we did where they did all those tests. So cortisol is stress, folks. I mean, that's how much really from saliva, they check your cortisol rates. And if you're elevated, you're stressed out, you need to be calmed down. Testosterone is, how amped up you are, basically. This is in Tim Miles, quote unquote, layman terms, right? So some guys, you need to get their testosterone up. Some guys, you got to keep their cortisol down. Okay. Well, literally, like we had 5 good players, 3 of them needed testosterone up, 2 of them need cortisol down. So I had to get these 2 guys calm, get these 3 guys going. What are we doing out here? What are we doing? And that's a Mike Lewis special, isn't it? And what are we doing out here? And I mean, I'm sitting there finally, you're just forget about it. I mean, let's just, it can be a little bit too scientific sometimes too. But data is power. And there's no doubt that, those upper level schools do a great job. I remember when we were at Nebraska, something cool Nebraska did was you went through, I don't know, whatever machine it was, and they measured your spleen. So if you got mono, the number one indicator when you can come back is if there's inflammation in your swelling in your spleen. So if it's back to normal, you're good to go. Well, how do you know that unless you've got a baseline and tested it earlier? I was blown away by that. But, a lot of that's above when you graduate number 7 in your high school class, Greg, some of this is over your head. And for those of you graduated in front of me at Dolan High, there was 13 of us in our graduating class. So I wasn't a rocket scientist, but I did minor in coaching, 30 credit minor in coaching. So I had that going for me. So
yeah, I do. We're talking about some other games, and you just said, the data is power. The West Coast Conference. They've always had Gonzaga, obviously, and BYU and St. Mary's, but about San Francisco knocking off Virginia too. That was
good one.
Todd
And
Golden,
lose to
guy.
UMass Lowell. Get down right away and just lose the game to UMass Lowell, who has done a better job. That's Pat. He was at Boston College. Coach Pat has done a great job. His last name is slipping me out. I'm sorry, Coach. I'll find him here in my contacts quick and call it outright. But when you look at this, I think it's important that Todd Golden, good player at St. Mary's, great free throw shooter, smart player. Look at him, and he's done a nice job taking over for Kyle Smith, who is now at Washington State. And, he just got out of quarantine himself.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
We're going to find Pat's last name right now.
Duquette.
You could have bailed me out of that.
I had to look it up too. I just
okay. I should have put you on that quicker. But Pat Duquette's done a good job. But a lot of great games. What do you got? So what are we buying and selling this week in college basketball?
We've talked about a couple of them, but one of the other ones, you were up at the Pentagon, and you mentioned.
But it doesn't mean I'm buying all of the winners, by the way.
Right. Okay. But what about we had a bunch of guys from Northern Iowa on the podcast already. Yep. Are you buying or selling their 0-3 start?
Well, first of all, my two podcast members went 1-5 this week. I didn't tell old Dutcher that what my squad record was, and which is why we're going to have some Ivy League guys on later this week just to play it safe. But when you look at things, I believe that Ben had one of his best shooters not out there, and it was a Trey Burhow, I believe, did not play because of COVID, and he's ready to play. Trey made like 3 threes a game, and I think that really hurt him, put a lot of pressure. He's a good defender too, and put a lot of pressure on A.J. Green, which A.J. really didn't respond to as well as he could have until later. And so I just think that it shows you that where one injury or one illness can really affect a team. I still like Northern Iowa, although I will tell you, watching Bradley, I was very, very impressed with Bradley and would think they have to be a front runner for that league title. And I would say Northern Iowa is a top 3 or 4 team in that league. So I'm buying at the right price.
Well put. And who else is good in there? Drake.
Drake got Kansas State at Kansas State. Good, like a 10, 20-point win. Very rock solid. Drake, Darren DeVries has done a really, really good job.
Yes. The next one that I have, we talked about the West Coast Conference a little bit, and are you buying or selling Gonzaga being far and away the best team in college basketball right now?
I'll buy them at the Amazon price, man. I mean, they're legit. They've got size, they've got shooting. Jalen Suggs, I've had a chance to watch. I actually coached against his dad, Larry Suggs, when I was at Mayville. He was at Valley City State. And Larry was a good player in his own right in the small college level. But Jalen, man, he's a dude. Enjoy him while we got him, because I don't know he's going to last more than a year, because he's really got it. He's got it.
You just mentioned Mayville, and I couldn't find the picture that I wanted to share with everybody today, but you're talking about fashion with Dutch, and you talked about the glasses that he had. And I was going to find the nice interview that you did after you qualified for the national tournament.
Yeah.
And let people see that.
That was my old grill too. That was pre the veneers.
And you've had some tooth problems for people that
yeah. Well, I could show you. One fell out the night before we played South Dakota State, or University of South Dakota, Craig Smith, when I was at Nebraska. So they put in a temporary that I could pop out of there, and I popped it out, and then I put an implant in. I've got, I think, 3 implants, 5 veneers, 2 bridges. I got so much metal in this mouth, I tell you what. I take an aluminum can and it just like a magnet. It just sticks there.
The last one that I had for you, if you're going to buy or sell, is right now the polls haven't come out yet this week, but there are currently 7 teams in the top 25 from the Big Ten. Are you buying or selling that the conference is that good?
I'm selling that. Selling that. It's good. It's good. It's not that good. We saw Michigan really struggle with Oakland. Really struggle. And different team. And I think Xavier Simpson, you're going to see his worth as the year goes on. He there are a lot of different people got credit for how good Michigan State's defense was. But when you have Teskey and Mo Wagner and Xavier Simpson, and you're strong up the middle like in baseball, pitch, catch, the two middle infielders, center fielder, same thing at center and point guard. When you're that tough up the middle, you're really good defensively. And I'm interested to see how that affects them. Michigan ran a little more zone than I expected, than I had seen. And Greg Campy in Oakland did an outstanding job getting, should have maybe won it in regulation. Just didn't have a few things go their way. And then, of course, Michigan got caught some fire. Wagner hit a shot. Livers hit a shot in overtime. And pretty soon, the mid-major guys, you get a little disillusioned, a little tired, and sure enough, Michigan pulls away. But I'm not all there. Purdue losing to Clemson, I didn't think was a great loss. I think that that says a lot. Nebraska, surprisingly, I thought lost to Nevada. I was surprised about that. And then a good bounce back. They'll look for a big bounce back this week. But when you look at things in the Big Ten, Rutgers is good. But Geo Baker is going to be out for a while, so you've got that to deal with. So, that's part of this, the whole deal. The hiccups, the fits and starts of the season, we're going to see, but 7's a little heavy.
I would agree with you. I'm the same exact way.
And I'm a Big Ten homer. Like I am a Big Ten homer. Iowa was really good. Illinois was really good. How about the story, the young guy at Ohio? Holy cow. When you look at Jason's story, let me get his name for you too. I'm going to find that just in 1 second, folks. Jason Preston and his story, really living with his friends, 6 foot, 140 pounds, goes in prep school, ends up with Saul Phillips at Ohio, continues to develop, and he was just a killer against Illinois. And going to be a lot of fun to see how good he plays throughout this season, because he's an emerging talent, big-time emerging talent. And everybody's looking for the next Obi Toppin or the mid-major kind of blowout, dominant type player. And that's certainly a candidate right there with Jason Preston of Ohio. Jeff Bowles has got a nice squad.
He does a really good job.
Coach, I tell you what, we like I say, the Crossover Classic, got a chance to watch West Virginia and Memphis, talented. West Virginia, really tough, just physical in the paint. God, they just brutalize you inside. St. Mary's, not bad. Probably not the 27 win St. Mary's type of team, but pretty good. Maybe down to 22, something awful like that. Utah State, I thought, struggled. Finally found a little edge, maybe firmed up their rotations a little bit. Justin Bean played like a maniac the last game against Northern Iowa, and they're going to need that out of him. Hard to replace, a guy like Sam Merrill. Anytime you have an NBA draft pick, there's going to be a hole left out of there. And ask Brian Detcher about him, and he'll go on for a half hour about Sam Merrill. And it's incredible stuff. But when we look at this, it's going to be a fun week again this week. And I'm excited. College basketball started. Hopefully, that's a great part about 353 teams. Even if 60 are out, man, we still got 290 ready to roll, baby. We'll be out there for you. So I'm excited about our week. And in fact, this morning, I think the Maui Classic in Asheville, North Carolina is going to start here another while we're taping almost. So catch those games. Those will be really good games all week too.
Yes. It's another good docket. Excited.
Yes, another good docket. Great word that you would only hear on the greatest podcast in the history, I'm pretty sure, of the world, probably the universe. Not positive, can't, but I'm saying, I know, Greg knows. Thanks for being with us this week, folks. Until next time, from inside the mind of Miles.